commercial. That is so stupid. That's the most ridiculous, horrifying story I've ever heard. It's crazy. I mean, why? Number one, it's my face as a child in the commercial. Me when I was little. Why would I want a white child to play me? I'm a black American. I'm proud to be a black American. I am proud of my race. I am proud of who I am. I have a lot of pride in who I am and dignity.
And not to mention the fact that Michael constantly told me, Latoya, if I die, they're going to murder me. They're going to kill me. He would tell me that, Barbara, and that's when Michael passed.
It's been 15 years since the world lost Michael Jackson, and yet questions still linger around his final days and the true cause of his tragic passing. Michael's life was marked by both unmatched fame and unimaginable pressures, but his sudden death left fans and the media grappling for answers. Despite investigations and years of speculation, the complete story behind that fateful day remained elusive until now. Recently, Michael's former doctor has come forward with new details, shedding light on what may have truly happened. His insights pull back the curtain on Michael's last years, exposing a complex web of struggles with fame, health issues, and overwhelming expectations. The doctor's revelations promise to rewrite the narrative of Michael's death, offering a glimpse into the unseen battles he faced. Stay with us as we delve into the shocking truths behind Michael Jackson's final days, truths that even now might change everything you thought you knew. Michael's health struggles in his final years. In the years leading up to his death, Michael Jackson's health was becoming increasingly fragile. Behind the bright lights and iconic performances, he was grappling with severe physical and emotional challenges. Years of relentless touring, demanding performances, and the pressures of maintaining his legendary status had taken a toll on his body. Chronic pain from past injuries, intense exhaustion, and a deepening sense of isolation were just some of the issues that haunted him. As his doctor now reveals, Michael's health struggles were far more serious than most people realized. He suffered from chronic insomnia and often spoke of physical pain that became almost unbearable. The doctor describes how Michael, who was deeply committed to his craft, felt he had to push through these struggles to meet the public's expectations and his own perfectionist standards. At 54 years old, there was a lot more demand on his body, and Michael began seeking more intensive medical support to cope, including various medications aimed at managing pain, anxiety, and his ongoing sleep issues. The doctor admits that while these treatments offered some relief, they also marked the beginning of a dangerous dependency. Michael's deteriorating health was compounded by a heavy reliance on medication, a spiral that would only worsen as he prepared for the most ambitious project of his later career. Yet even as his health declined, Michael felt a strong sense of duty to his fans, a need to be the legendary performer everyone expected. But as the doctor now shares, that sense of duty came at a cost that would ultimately become unsustainable in the face of the intense pressures to come. The doctor's role in Michael's life and health management. As Michael's health challenges grew more severe, he came to rely on a trusted figure who would play a pivotal role in his life, his personal doctor. This doctor wasn't just a medical professional, he was a confidant, someone Michael turned to as the pressures of fame and health issues became more intense. According to the doctor, his role went beyond simply treating symptoms. He was tasked with helping Michael manage the complex physical and emotional struggles that shadowed his every move. Michael saw this doctor as someone who could offer relief, someone who could provide the treatments he needed to keep performing at the highest level. The doctor recalls how Michael's dedication to his work meant he would push his body to the limit, often ignoring signs of exhaustion or pain. It was clear that Michael's passion for his art and his commitment to his fans drove him to seek out any solution that could help him keep going, even if it meant turning to increasingly potent treatments. Over time, the doctor's influence in Michael's life grew. He was with him day and night, monitoring his health, administering medications, and offering support as Michael struggled to balance his physical needs with his career ambitions. But as the doctor reveals, this dependency created a unique and complex relationship, one where boundaries became blurred and the line between patient care and personal involvement began to shift. The doctor admits that he saw warning signs early on, but was often torn between wanting to help Michael find relief and recognizing the risk of dependence on medication. In hindsight, he reflects on the delicate delicate balance of trying to help someone as driven and dedicated as Michael while managing the very real risks involved. It was a responsibility that weighed heavily, especially as he saw Michael's health steadily decline. But as the doctor now reveals, there was more going on behind the scenes than anyone realized. The pressure of the This Is It tour and its impact on Michael. As Michael prepared for what was meant to be his grand comeback, the highly anticipated This Is It tour, the pressure on him mounted to an overwhelming degree. This tour was supposed to be his triumphant return, a series of performances that would remind the world why he was called the King of Pop. But behind the scenes, the demands of preparing for the tour were taking a serious toll on his already fragile health. The doctor describes how the rehearsals were grueling, with Michael pushing himself through exhausting hours to perfect every detail. He was determined to give his fans a flawless show, but the physical demands were proving to be more than he could handle. The doctor recalls how Michael would often finish rehearsals completely drained, barely able to stand, but still insistent on getting every move right. His perfectionism, combined with the pressure to live up to his own legacy, kept him pushing forward despite his body's warnings. This pressure was not just physical, it was deeply emotional as well. Michael knew this tour was not just another series of shows, it was a chance to reclaim his place in the spotlight after years of controversies and personal struggles. The weight of these expectations added an immense psychological burden, one that his doctor says left Michael constantly anxious and unable to rest. The doctor observed firsthand the toll this took on him, seeing his friend and patient consumed by a cycle of stress, pain, and sleeplessness. As a result, Michael's reliance on medication to manage his stress and physical pain grew even stronger. The doctor recalls how he became increasingly concerned, but Michael's determination to deliver the perfect performance kept him from slowing down. The doctor's insights reveal that Michael was caught in a dangerous loop, with the pressures of the tour fueling his health struggles and his health struggles pushing him deeper into dependency. With the stakes of This Is It so high, the doctor knew that Michael was walking a thin line, one that could lead to dangerous consequences. But despite the doctor's concerns, Michael's commitment to his art and his fans seemed unbreakable, a driving force that kept him moving forward even as his body began to falter. Dependence on medication, a dangerous spiral. As Michael's health continued to deteriorate under the immense physical and emotional pressures of the This Is It tour, he found himself increasingly reliant on medication to keep going. According to his doctor, this dependence began as a way to manage pain, anxiety, and his chronic struggle with insomnia. But as the demands on him intensified, so did his need for relief, and this led him down a dangerous path. Michael's sleeplessness was a particular concern. His doctor explains that Michael often went for days without restful sleep, which left him physically and mentally exhausted. The medication initially provided some relief, giving him the few precious hours of rest he desperately needed. But soon, the dosages increased and the types of medications expanded. His reliance became so deep that he required specific treatments just to fall asleep, a dependency that his doctor watched with growing alarm. The doctor reflects on how this dependence transformed Michael's relationship with his own body and mind. Where he once could push through with sheer willpower and determination, he now needed external help just to maintain a baseline level of energy and function. His life became a delicate balancing act, teetering between performance and recovery, with medications becoming his constant companion. This spiral was something the doctor tried to address, but the pressure Michael felt to perform created a cycle that was hard to break. With each passing day, Michael's dependency deepened, leaving him vulnerable and increasingly isolated in his struggle. The doctor admits feeling conflicted, wanting to help alleviate Michael's pain and stress, but knowing that the growing reliance on medication was leading them into dangerous territory. The doctor's concerns escalated as he realized that the medications that once offered temporary respite were now becoming essential just for Michael to make it through each day. As the doctor recounts, the dependency became a ticking time bomb, a path that could only lead to tragic consequences if left unchecked. But what he reveals next sheds even more light on the extent of Michael's struggle, a struggle that would ultimately come to a devastating end, the events of his final days. In the days leading up to Michael Jackson's tragic passing, his doctor witnessed firsthand the toll that years of pressure, sleepless nights, and dependency had taken on him. The doctor describes those final days as filled with an overwhelming sense of urgency and exhaustion. Michael was determined to perfect his performance despite his body and mind crying out for rest. Each day was a struggle, and his doctor could see the weariness etched across his face, the toll that years of relentless dedication had inflicted. The doctor reveals that Michael's final days were marked by intense rehearsals and late nights, with his health deteriorating further each day. He remembers Michael pushing through the exhaustion, insisting on continuing rehearsals even as his body began to fail him. There were moments when Michael would express his doubts, confiding to his doctor that he didn't know if he could physically keep going. But his commitment to his fans, the people who had supported him for decades, drove him to continue. On that final day, the doctor observed signs that alarmed him. Michael appeared unusually fatigued, his movements slower and his demeanor more withdrawn. Conversations between them grew heavier, with Michael expressing an almost haunting sense of urgency to deliver the perfect performance. The doctor recalls the troubling conversations, sensing that Michael felt as if this was his last chance to reclaim his place in the world. The pressure and expectations weighed heavily on him, pushing him to continue despite the alarming signs of his declining health. In those last hours, the doctor was by Michael's side, administering medications in an attempt to bring him some relief and give him the rest he so desperately needed. But the doctor admits that he knew the situation was precarious, that Michael's dependence on powerful treatments had reached a level that made each dose a risk. It was a delicate, dangerous balance, and one that, in the end, proved to be tragically unsustainable. As the doctor recounts those final hours, he describes an atmosphere filled with tension and an overwhelming sense of helplessness. He had tried to manage Michael's symptoms, to provide the support he needed, but there was a growing realization that even his efforts could only go so far. The doctor's haunting memory of those final moments reveals the depth of Michael's exhaustion, his drive, and the heartbreakingly thin line he was walking between pushing forward and falling apart. And in the end, it was a line that Michael couldn't hold on to, a final chapter that ended with loss, leaving behind a legacy that would be remembered, but also a life taken too soon. The truth behind his death. Doctor's shocking revelation. After years of silence, Michael Jackson's doctor is now revealing what he believes truly led to Michael's tragic death. Details that go beyond what the public has been told. According to the doctor, Michael's passing wasn't just a simple case of medical error or a one-time overdose. Instead, he describes a deeper, more complex story involving years of intense pressure, physical strain, and growing dependency on medication that ultimately culminated in a perfect storm on that fateful day. The doctor recounts his attempts to help Michael manage his chronic pain, insomnia, and anxiety, often resorting to powerful medications when other solutions failed. But as the doctor now explains, Michael's need for relief had become so acute that he required stronger and riskier treatments to function. Over time, this created a fragile situation where any deviation in dosage or timing could lead to devastating consequences. The doctor admits that this level of dependency left Michael vulnerable, caught in a cycle where the very medications meant to help him survive his demanding lifestyle also put him at great risk. In a shocking revelation, the doctor expresses regret over the circumstances, suggesting that Michael's death might have been preventable if he had stepped back from his commitments and focused on recovery. He admits that he wishes he had been more forceful in encouraging Michael to slow down, to prioritize his health over his career. The doctor confides that he had voiced concerns to Michael about the dangers of pushing his body to such extremes, but the superstar's dedication to his fans and his unwavering drive to reclaim his place in the spotlight made him resistant to the idea of taking a break. The doctor's account adds a new dimension to the narrative, challenging the notion that Michael's death was purely accidental. He describes a perfect storm of stress, exhaustion, and dependency that together created a situation from which there was little chance of escape. In sharing these insights, the doctor doesn't just reveal a medical explanation. He reveals a heartbreaking portrait of a man who felt he had no choice but to keep going, no matter the cost. The doctor's reflections are filled with remorse, a sense of what could have been done differently, of steps he wishes he'd taken to prevent this tragic outcome. For him, Michael's death was not simply the loss of a patient, but the loss of a friend, a complex and extraordinary individual who gave everything to his art, but in the end, paid the highest price. This revelation leaves fans with a more intimate understanding of the struggles Michael faced and the personal costs of his remarkable career, reflecting on Michael's legacy and the price of fame. In light of these revelations from Michael Jackson's doctor, we are left to reconsider the true cost of his legacy. Michael's life was one of extraordinary highs and devastating lows, marked by relentless dedication to his craft and an unyielding desire to meet his fans' expectations. But as the doctor's story reveals, that commitment came at a significant cost, one that ultimately led to a tragic end. Michael's journey serves as both an inspiration and a cautionary tale, highlighting the intense pressures that accompany fame fame and the unseen battles many public figures face behind closed doors. As we look back on Michael's life and career, his story invites us to consider the fine line between ambition and well-being. The King of Pop was a title he wore with pride, but it came with demands that tested him physically, emotionally, and mentally. Behind the scenes, Michael was a man striving for peace, searching for relief from pain, and longing for understanding, a side of him that many never got to see. His doctor's account sheds light on this side of Michael, reminding us that the man behind the legend was human, vulnerable, and at times overwhelmed by the weight of his own success. In sharing these insights, the doctor hopes to offer a more complete picture of Michael Jackson, a portrait of a man who gave everything for his music, but whose life was complicated by the challenges and expectations of superstardom. The doctor's revelations remind us that Michael's legacy is not just about his groundbreaking achievements in music, but also about the price he paid to reach those heights. It is a story of passion, perseverance, and ultimately, the fragile nature of human life. As we reflect on Michael's legacy, we are reminded of the importance of compassion and understanding for those who live in the public eye. His story urges us to look beyond the headlines and recognize the personal struggles that often remain hidden. Michael's music, his artistry, and his spirit continue to inspire millions, and perhaps one of the greatest tributes we can pay him is to remember not just the icon, but the man who devoted his life to making the world a more magical place. In closing, we are left with a powerful question. Was it the price of fame, the pressures of a relentless career, or the physical and emotional toll that ultimately led to Michael's tragic passing? The answer may lie somewhere in between, reminding us that behind every legendary figure, there is a person with dreams, struggles, and a desire for peace. Michael Jackson's legacy will endure, but his story serves as a poignant reminder of the costs that can come with greatness.